Hello everyone, Emma Power here, and welcome back to a new video. A bunch of new cards were revealed for the set Scarlet and Violet, so I thought we'd take a quick look at them and go over what's been revealed. So there's been a Magmite line, so Magmite not doing too much, vanilla 60 HP basic. Love the artwork though, very fitting to the settings that we see in the games. But yeah, overall pretty okay. There's a Magneton that can do 90 damage, but it does 90 damage to itself, so pretty much filler until we get to the EX. So Magenzone EX, 330 HP, stage 2, so only giving up 2 prize cards, which is a wee bit scary, but it is a stage 2 Pokemon, so there is a massive reward in its hit points. Does have a retreat cost of 3, which is pretty annoying, and then a weakness to fighting, which is less than ideal if Koraidon ends up being a pretty cool archetype, or just pretty competitive in general, or fighting types do take off in the future. But either way, it's not terrible weakness to have right now, so fairly optimistic that it won't be too much of a problem. Has 2 attacks. Energy Crush does 50 damage for each energy attached to all of your opponent's Pokemon, so high amount energy decks you will be able to punish with this attack. Now, funnily enough, there is an item card that we reviewed a little while ago, some sort of power generator that allows you to accelerate lightning energy from the top of your deck, so if you're in some sort of mirror match or against another lightning deck, then you can use, this attack to essentially punish those decks. Also worth noting is that you can use that item to power up Magenzone as well, or your other lightning types, so pretty cool in that regard. Also worth mentioning is that there is a Gardevoir line that we're going to talk about super soon. I'm pretty sure you probably would have heard by now how good the Gardevoir is, but either way, that Gardevoir deck will probably revolve around a high amount of basic energy in play, so just being able to do 50 damage for each energy doesn't seem actually that bad moving forward. So pretty good card, decent 2-hit KO potential, and then Pulse Launcher for 2 lightning energy does 220, and this Pokemon also does 30 to itself. 30 to yourself when you already have high hit points doesn't seem like such a detriment, but truthfully, you never really want to be lowering your HP for any reason, so I'm a little bit reserved on this attack, but Energy Crush seems pretty strong moving forward. But overall, we'll have to see how it plays out because Magenzone does seem to have its limitations, of course being a stage 2. Then we see a Ralts Courier line. Now we do have to mention that we do have multiple Courier that are really good, so even if this one, ends up being pretty bad, there is several different ones. There's a Courier with Mirage Steps, allows you to search your deck for 3 other Courier and put them onto your bench. And then there's also the Courier from Silver Tempest, allows you to, once in your turn, discard a card from your hand to draw 2. So either way, pretty cool to see that you could essentially use Mirage Steps Courier to find 3 Courier that have the trade ability, and then essentially you can evolve some of those Courier into Gardevoir EX, or, the stage 2 Gardevoir from Chilling Reign, or, a Gallade, for example. So plenty of different options, especially if you just want to build sort of a quad Gardevoir deck, I guess. So what does Gardevoir actually do? Well, 310 HP for a stage 2, so I think 310 is probably the benchmark for the lower HP on the stage 2s. I don't think they'll go as low as 300. So yeah, stage 2s, 310 at the lowest, 330 probably at the highest, or maybe even 340 at the absolute highest, but either way, decent amount of hit points still. Weak to Dark is a bit of a pain, but resistance to fighting is pretty good. Retreat cost of 2 is okay. We are losing Air Balloon sadly, but it is what it is. And then it has the ability Psychic Embrace that says, as often as you like, during a turn, you may attach a basic Psychic Energy from your discard pile to one of your Psychic Pokemon. So it does have to be to a Psychic Pokemon. If you do, you have to put 2 damage counters on that Pokemon, and you cannot use its ability if that Pokemon would be knocked out by those 2 damage counters. So a lot to take in there, but essentially this is unlimited energy acceleration. I'm not sure if we've seen an ability like this before, but it feels like one of a kind of bonkers ability, because you can essentially just flood the board with as many energies as you see fitting, but it comes at the downside that you are placing 2 damage counters on there. So a similar comparison would be to something like Houndoom. That was a stage 1 from Battle Styles that accelerated single strike energy, so pretty similar in that regard. But to be honest, I think this ability is just way stronger than a Houndoom ever will be, because you can just get an unlimited amount. You are placing a lot of damage counters, which could hurt yourself, and will hurt yourself in the fact that it could push your Pokemon into 1-hit KO territory that you wouldn't want them to be in. So there is that to bear in mind. But if you are running some sort of healing maybe to offset, or you just don't care really about the damage, then this is easily one of the best ways to accelerate energy moving into Scarlet and Violet. Also means that stuff like Mimikyu EX that did, for 3 energy I believe it was, 30 damage for each energy attached to both active Pokemon, well, you could just like suddenly charge up a Mimikyu out of nowhere and then just like slam a Pokemon. And Mimikyu is pretty squishy anyway, so a bunch more damage counters shouldn't matter too much. So a lot of cool partners in that regard. There's also the Lunar Rock deck. There's the Mewtwo V-Star. There's Shadow Rider as well. So plenty of options. Seems like a very, very strong ability, and I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up being a very competitive deck. Then we see Miracle Force as the attack for 2 Psychic and a Colorless, does 190, and then you heal any special conditions on this Pokemon. It's alright. You know, you can remove Burn, you can remove Poison, and potentially you can remove Confusion. Obviously, you won't be able to attack if you're paralyzed or asleep, but yeah, doesn't seem terrible. 190 just means that you're 2-hit killing anything, you're never really 1-hit killing anything. But yeah, doesn't seem awful, and it can easily charge energy to itself, even though you will be lowering your hit points quite substantially. But either way, it seems like a very strong card overall. Then we see 2 Paradox Pokemon. I initially speculated that they would save Paradox Pokemon for a future set. Seems a bit weird that we're getting these immediately. I mean, I guess the fact that these Pokemon do appear in the mid to early game, I guess, in the form of Titan Pokemon, so maybe they want to give all the new Titan Pokemon an EX card. That might be why we see these cards early, and then Paradox Pokemon are essentially saved as a future mechanic, like Ultra Beasts, or, you know, Battle Styles. So Great Tusk, what does it do? Has 250 HP. This is like the past form of Donphan, in case you weren't aware. So 250 HP is an awful lot for an unevolving EX. This is basically like almost Wailord territory, I believe. Retreat cost of 4 is absolutely abysmal, so this thing does not want to be, you know, stuck in the active or anything, which is pretty bad. Weakness to Psychic, we have theorized that, you know, Mew will be really good post-rotation. That Gardevoir that we've just seen is very strong. Also, both those decks resist you. Not only are they hitting you for weakness, so that's a wee bit scary, but all that aside, what does the card actually do? Bedrock Breaker for a single fighting energy does 40, and then discard a Stadium in play, and then Giganto Tusk does 250, and then it does 50 to itself. So the 50 to yourself is abysmal, but admittedly 250 is pretty sound. So what I think is really cool about this card is it gives off vibes of past cards like Buzzwole and Landorus in a way. Now I know this doesn't do any spread damage or damage to the bench, but it is just efficient damage, and that's what I like about this card a lot. So if there's ever got modifiers in the future, like a special energy to improve its damage, like Strong Energy, or, you know, a Fighting Dojo or a Diancie Prism style card, this could actually be pretty decent, because 40 can be modified quite easily to knock out evolving Pokemon. And as we'll see in the new format, that Pokemon like Ralts and Magnemite will be more common, because these EX Pokemon evolve from single prizes. So yeah, I don't hate Great Tusk, honestly. Also, you can power this up with Koraidon, even though it will end your turn. So something to bear in mind if you do want to 1-hit KO an EX Pokemon maybe down the line. It seems pretty good, to be honest. So yeah, I'm personally a fan of this one. Seems pretty decent. And then Iron Treads EX, so substantially lower hit points, 220 being the future form of Donphan. Retreat cost of 3. Weakness to Fire kind of stinks. Resistance to Grass doesn't really matter. I mean, no one's playing Grass, but either way, it's an okay card. Triple Laser, definitely an attack that we've seen before in past EXs, funnily enough. For 3 colors, does 30 damage to 3 of your opponent's Pokemon, and you don't apply weakness or resistance for a bunch of Pokemon. So it's an okay spread attack. It's not terrible, to be honest, because you are fairly tanky. Now, other stuff will be able to 1-hit KO you, especially in VMAX and V-Star territory. But most DXs aren't really trading 1-hit KO blows on each other, so being able to essentially spread 30 to 3 and then maybe get off another 30 to 3 could be okay, you know. One thing I will say is this card strikes me as just a better card for a Magenzone deck. So like if they introduced a Magenzone that accelerated energy again, I know we've seen several in the past, maybe they do another one, or we see another form of energy acceleration, then this could be okay. But either way, triple laser, don't hate this attack, seems pretty decent overall. Cybernetic Wheel, however, is where this card kind of tanks a bit, quite literally. 3 metal energy and a colorless, 160, switches Pokemon, one you benched. Fairly underwhelming, to be honest. I don't think we'll see something like Lily's Pokédoll again anytime soon. I mean, that could be awfully wrong and that'll age horribly probably, but you know, typical statements. But either way, 160 for 4 energy, pretty bad. Just 2-hit queuing, well, not even 2-hit queuing everything, and still, you know, only doing 160. So seems like a pretty mid card. I have greater faith in Great Tusk EX doing better, and then Gardevoir seems absolutely crazy with the right partner. And Magenzone, I think I reviewed about 3 times already, but yeah, seems prettle decent. So that'll be for the reels today. Let me know what you think down below, and I hope you'll see you next time. Thank you for watching.